So I just watched James Hansen's talk at COP in Chile, where he's talking about nuclear power. I gotta say, I have a lot of respect for James. He's done some really important work and brought a lot of legitimacy to pro-nuclear activism, being our godfather of climate change. I gotta say, I was pretty disappointed with his talk for a number of reasons. Um, Number one, he's really painting existing nuclear technology as unsafe. He's falling into that trap um, by fetishizing Gen 4 technologies. He actually talks about how future technologies can shut down a nuclear reactor if an earthquake is detected, and that's actually exactly what happened at all of the nuclear reactors across Japan, which spontaneously scrammed when the earthquake was recorded by their equipment. Um, he's basically playing into that falsehood, and inadvertently, I think, steering people into more of an anti-nuclear framework by demonizing existing technology. One of our big struggles, obviously, is keeping plants open to their full lifetime, and it strikes me that his arguments would go against that. And unfortunately, Gen 4 technology is pending. Um, he talks about how the Chinese their nuclear efforts are being shut down by not getting access to technology transfer from the U.S. And while that technology transfer absolutely should occur, to a large degree it has. They're building Generation 3 nuclear, have an outstanding safety record, and this is really no obstacle. The obstacles are much more political. Um, Another thing that I didn't enjoy so much was his talk about carbon taxing and dividends. Um, I think the idea of taxing the consumer for the carbon that they use up front is disproportionately affecting the poor. And yes, it's supposed to be given back to them in their tax returns. A lot of poor folks don't actually file for their taxes. And lastly, this isn't an effective way to meet a World War II level mobilization. I'm all for a carbon tax, hopefully at the side of production, but those monies need to be steered intelligently into the solutions that we know that work. Things like nuclear power and things like R&D that are going to help us bring down emissions in all the other sectors that are actually producing 75% of our emissions in terms of industry, transport, agriculture, etc. So, James, I love what you do, but you need to do a better job of it. And I think it's a good lesson to us in terms of how we communicate. And just one last thought crossed my mind. He goes pretty soft on solar, talks about how his house is covered with solar panels and puts more energy onto the grid than his family consumes. And I think it's a real missed opportunity because there's ways, I think we're so hesitant to actually point out the fatal flaws in weather-dependent renewables. And by, I guess, trying to appease people and trying to stay safe and not alienate people, we're in fact doing a disservice to the technologies that we're advocating. Because if solar works, we don't need nuclear. And I think there's really effective ways to diplomatically communicate the ways in which these technologies don't work. And indeed, in terms of my transformation to becoming a pro-nuclear advocate, that was a huge part of it. And I think that applies in terms of conversations that I've had across the board with folks at climate events, climate marches, that kind of thing. People really need this bubble to be burst. They need it to be done diplomatically, with a lot of care, but we need to not be afraid to show why these technologies are in fact almost counterproductive in terms of the resource and material intensity that they use and the waste of time that they are. We have demonstrated evidence-based methods for decarbonization, repeatedly demonstrated, right? And wind and solar obviously are not doing much of anything in the places in which it's being invested in. Anyway, I think you guys all know that, but I just wanted to give a quick response to that talk. I'll link it as well. And also I think it's important to make videos, to talk. We can write well, I think. We can write quick Facebook memes, but I think our role as communicators, a lot of it's going to be by speaking. And I think it's important to develop our speaking skills. And I definitely look forward to critiquing this video and seeing ways in which I can be a better verbal communicator. Anyway, that's all for now, guys. Thought I'd just try this out, do a quick video. Let me know what you think. Bye.